This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
My goodness, what a Friday it is. It's Nordo in for PA, 651 Carpets Plus Studios. PA returns Wednesday, and we will be live at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center in Eagan, a live Minnesota Vikings training camp show. And somebody that you're going to be hearing on a lot of Fridays for Friday football feasts. I thought it would be perfect the Friday before camp begins to kind of have a Friday feast of my own. The host, he's chilling. It's vocal maintenance season. We get all that. But Alec Lewis of The Athletic is locked in 2025, and your summertime, we'll get to all of that. But Alec Lewis of The Athletic, nice enough to hang out with me for the next 2 hours as we dig into our favorite football team. How you doing, man? I'm
good. I was out at the facility yesterday. I had to do a couple media things. I was out at TCO. There were some players, and I also was struggling with the little writer's block. So I ended up catching a wave of writing. So I was at the facility till like 5:30. One of the PR people walked in the media room. They're like, you realize you're going to be here every day for 6 months, and that's kind of how it's going to be.
You just can't get away.
No, I cannot. Speaking of PA, though, I met up with him earlier this week at the most random. He said, you want to meet me at Jerry's Supermarket? I'm like, what are we going to walk down the grocery aisles together? Right?
Yes.
So of all places in the Twin Cities to meet, that's where he chose. It didn't really.
Jerry's down in EP area?
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, I mean, it's not that random. He picked a place that's incredibly close to his home and much farther away from yours.
So far. I had to commute. I'm like, why am I going to a grocery store in Eden Prairie? But there was like a Starbucks across the street, and instead he chose the supermarket.
Well, he probably had to do some shopping either before or afterwards. Did he have a cart with him that as you sat at the table, his cart was just sitting there next to you?
Yeah, when I walked in, he was in the hot bar going, it was crazy.
You wouldn't believe great olives. If you like olives, you got to go to Jerry's.
Well, and that was the other thing. Is like, I've been to Lunds and Byerly's.
Yeah, you know what it's like.
Yeah, but Jerry's was not, it wasn't on my radar. And so, no, it was great to catch up with PA at the local supermarket.
Yeah, no, and it's a little bit of a culture. I mean, we like our grocery stores up here. I hope you're impressed with the offerings. We got a lot of great options.
I didn't think we were going to go here the first segment, but I will say, coming from Alabama, where I come from, and you got Publix down there. Publix is better. I mean, I'm about to get this station in trouble from an advertiser perspective. But Publix blows, all these out of the water.
You're kidding me.
It's not even close.
So what's great about Publix? I've been to a few in Florida in particular.
Clean, organized, fresh. They give you a free chicken tender if you walk up and ask for one. Free cookie. They've got great sandwiches.
Hold on.
It's spectacular.
Hold on. Because, whether it's growing up down in Fancato and you go to, Hy-Vee, specifically the one on Riverfront, going there as a kid, Jack and Jill. There were a couple of different grocery stores, and sampling was in vogue.
Always.
And I loved going as a kid because I knew there was just going to be like a little like an eighth of a cookie or something like that. Just something to get me through it. A little wiener on a toothpick, that sort of thing. And just you crush the snacks while mom's filling the cart. You get a full chicken tender?
They used to hand, and then you could go to the bakery, and they hand you a full cookie. You walk out of Publix as a kid, you're full. You got a whole meal as a kid. I'm telling you, Publix, we didn't plan this first segment. I knew we were going to be in here for a while, but I didn't. Look, I will say, I have being here 3 years, the grocery store opportunities here, it's been a little.
You're saying we got to step our game up?
I'm just saying.
Wow.
There's no, I don't have like that spot on the court that I go to from a grocery store perspective.
No, I get it.
Makes sense.
I get it. Yeah. Now I'm the texters are agreeing with you.
Really?
Publix is the absolute GOAT. That's Jack in Lakeville. And others says they bag too. They bag your groceries at Publix.
Absolutely. Yeah, yes.
That's a lost art, by the way. The old paper or plastic, somebody standing at the end of the conveyor belt, just kind of helping you out, lending a hand. That never happens anymore.
Yeah,
except At Publix, apparently.
I don't know what happened. Was it like budget cuts in these grocery
That's
stores?
Probably staffing.
Okay, well,
I mean, they're on the grind with margins anyway, but
that's fair. There's just nothing better though when you throw all your lettuce and your chicken that you got, and then you throw that all up there, and they do it for you. I don't know how to bag groceries. All I do is write about football.
You don't put the eggs on the bottom. No little plastic.
Right, that's right. That's
fresh meat goes in its own bag, those sorts of things.
Always, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit of a game of Tetris. One of my high school jobs, I worked at a grocery store.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm an elite bagger.
Which grocery store?
I was, something market. Why am I losing it right now? It was down in Mankato. They took over in Lower North, then they expanded up to Commerce in Upper North after the previous store owner was kind of screwed over by the city.
Oh wow! I didn't know this was.
Why am I losing this right now? It's something. I'm completely blanking on the name. Yeah, I worked there for like 6 months. Bagged groceries, did stock.
Okay.
Facing, you pulled that can of peas. Got to bring that out to the front. Let's get the label out there.
Spin it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's so. We veered off track.
Yeah, that was sorry about that.
We talk about players all the time in terms of when do they turn the switch back on? Well, clearly you're already switched on, working yesterday at the facility, but rookies report in just a couple of days, my man. And then, again, veterans on Tuesday. And then we're going to be out there next Wednesday. You're going to be spending a bunch of time with us, probably out on the perch or in the studio inside TCO Studios at Egan. And that's why I wanted you in here, man, because turning that page is a blast. And you're right. It's 6 months of nuttiness. But for some of us, it's a fun routine that we get to be a part of every single year. And all the things that we've been speculating on and all the Rube takes and hot takes at happy hour finally get to pay off. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I was talking to Pete Bursich yesterday, and he was like trashing training camp. Yeah, you go, you get sunburn. And I will say, I mean, yeah, it can be a little, boring at times out there. But yeah, it's this time of year, especially where the hope is endless. The dreams are wide open. Like there's just little better. And then when you're in this situation with this quarterback, with this roster in this town that is as hungry as since I've been here, obviously, to see this thing kind of enter another phase, like how could you not be excited to be out there and be around people? But you're right. Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell will talk Tuesday. And then they'll be out there Wednesday. Players will be out on the field. And it's showtime at that point.
Well, before we get to, throughout this, by the way, I got a few texters saying it's County Market in North Mankato. Maybe that's what it's called now. We're talking, this is 25 years ago. So, but at any rate, the Texan talkbacks in vogue throughout the next couple of hours where we are going to start kind of putting stamps on things. That's kind of the fun part about this, Alec. And there's nothing's at risk here, right? And we'll change it at the state fair. We'll change it right up to week 1.
I kind of forgot about the state fair.
We'll actually change maybe even every week. So the opinions and takes are subject to alterations.
Yeah, Rondale Moore will be the greatest of all time come 2 weeks from now.
Was it Ray's? Was it Ray's Market? I think it was Ray's Market. Yes, it was. Thank you to the texter. It was Ray's Market. I worked because they transitioned up to Upper North because it used to be Engren's. And then I think it was Ray's Market that I worked at for 6 months in high school. Problem solved. We can move on.
Thank you.
But Texan talkbacks, just things that you're interested in thinking about, talking about with your favorite football team, whether it's 64686 for non-grocery related talkers. The text line. Otherwise, the free iHeartRadio app, you hit that button and you give us up to your best 30 seconds. Brett will review it for FCC violations and then we will play them. So texts and talkbacks, a big one throughout this. And one of the things that I'm eventually going to jump into you, and we're going to do a couple of different things, but kind of projecting. And I started with this a bit with Lieber yesterday, but kind of players that fascinate me, right? I mean, that's going to be, it's like, wow, look at that rep by Donovan Jackson. look at that thing.
Yeah, did you see the way he kick slid out there and punched his hands? I mean, yeah.
No, exactly. But so we're going to dig into so much minutia over the next month, which is such a blast.
So fun.
It's ridiculously fun. And we're all just, I know I'm speaking for myself, I'm an absolute rube, but when I go beyond just how the quarterback's going to look, there are things that really fascinate me about the team, and specifically on defense. And again, in kind of going down this road a bit with Lieber yesterday, I guess I'll start here with you on this, is guys that either created a standard, or is there potentially progression on the horizon for them, or is there regression? And a few players that I mentioned specifically with Lieber yesterday, Byron Murphy Jr. I think about him a lot, and that's just weird for an adult man with a wife and children to say. But I think about Byron Murphy a lot, and I think about when we would joke about it in years past, the kind of the idea of in a contract year. Well, this guy blew up, but it was in a contract year. So then, you're clutching at things a bit in terms of how much to pay him. Do you believe your eyes? Do you believe what you saw? Do you believe what he produced? And can he do that after he gets his bag? Okay, well, he was fair. He was paid a fair amount and deserved it.
Yeah.
After his 6 picks and just the massive presence that he provided on the outside, on the inside, and just really the best corner on the field for the Vikings a year ago. So I think about, man, did Byron Murphy create a new standard for himself? What does that look like in terms of replicating that season? It might not have to be 6 more interceptions, but it might be passes defense. Maybe you're seeing him where, Flores gets tricky and he's coming in on a blitz. Like you can kind of how you frame that up in your head. He was one guy. Andrew Van Ginkel was another, not just because he was paid, but he had, I think, by far the best year of his career statistically and impact-wise, right? And then I also think about Blake Cashman's first season as man in the middle. So I'm just using that as an example, and we'll dig deeper into segments because we're going to pause here as we kick off the Timber Tech set list. But just kind of getting your minds moving, Vikings fans, with training camp beginning next week, and we're dream weaving. We all want to see number 9. We all want to see what that looks like. Ooh, the connection to Justin Jefferson's going to be a beautiful thing. We do have to talk about the number 2 receiver, as he apparently changed. He was pleading not guilty to the situation out in California. Jordan Addison was, and then there was a change. There was a switch. And what pleading, I believe it was no contest in the end. I'll grab the specific verbiage as we talk about that, but suspension on the horizon, and now we're all in on Rondale Moore or Jalen Naylor, and we can talk about those things. But just get your minds moving, Vikings fans, in terms of training camp around the corner, dream weaving what that thing looks like. And that's the first 2 hours of the show, brought to you by TimberTech and TimberTech.com. Alec Lewis in studio with me. And then we make a big transition at 11 to the baseball team returning from the break. Off the break, but on the brink, the Minnesota Twins begin the second half sprint. They're at Colorado this weekend. Now, they will hopefully sweep the awful Rockies. The beautiful scenery it is. The baseball's not good. High-scoring games, it seems to be in vogue at Coors all the time. But after they sweep Colorado, they got to head to the Dodgers, and the winds of trade season are upon us. 4 games out of the wild card. What does that whole thing look like? John Bonus, Twins Geek, he's going to be in studio with me at 11. So thank you so much for hanging out with us on a Friday feast. And the cash thing brought to you by Brett Blakemore producing the show. Tremendous effort in the initials game today, Brett. Valiant effort. I asked you to shut out Dov.
Well,
but he was an unstoppable force.
He was really good. He had a lot of really good elite pulls.
And now he's our problem for at least another couple months. Give these people an opportunity to win $1,000.
Yeah, absolutely. Because bonus backs are back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. To enter keywords, learn more, head to KFAN.com. Bonus Bucks is presented by BigDeck.com. The keyword for this hour is money. The keyword is money. KFAN.com. Keyword money.
The Fan.
The concert event of the year is coming to Minneapolis. Paul McCartney live at U.S. Bank Stadium, October 17th. If you want to score a pair of tickets, just go to KFAN.com, keyword contest now. Enter to win. Get Back Tour, one night, one legend. Don't miss out. KFAN.com, keyword contest.
Friday football feast. It's Nordo in for PA. Solving the world's problems during the break. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, the news coming out yesterday that he pleads to, and I don't know what this is.
Reckless?
Wet reckless.
I had never heard of that.
Do we know what that is?
I have never heard of that. I had never heard of that prior to the news surfacing yesterday.
So I'm thankful that there's finality to this, as I'm sure you are.
It's been, there's hearing, trials, pushback. It's been a long process for Jordan Addison for a year. It happened last summer, really. So.
You know what, though? You want to talk about growing up and learning from mistakes?
Yeah.
As of now, camp starts just a few days.
It's true. Jordan Addison's first two off seasons.
Third time's a charm, right?
There were, and I go back to the end of, at the end of minicamp, like a couple months ago, or a month and a half ago, or whenever that was. Justin Jefferson was like, "Yeah, I've invited Jordan to spend time with me. I want him to be with me. I want to spend they were very intentional.
Yeah.
And I think Jordan's entire team around him has been intentional for him to have the offseason he's had, like low key. And I know we've joked a lot when I've been in here about like player weight and strength and Jalen Naylor and numbers and slimming and all that stuff. One of the priorities for Jordan Addison this offseason was putting on weight, adding strength.
Specifically in the shoulders and upper body
specifically
area?
in the shoulders. But it leads to
that was a real focus of his.
It was a real focus of his because this offense, I think one of the ways they believe they can squeeze more out of the orange is yards after the catch. And I'd have to look at the figures and I have, but to give them to you on where they ranked from a yards after the catch standpoint, it wasn't at the high end of the NFL. And that's just one of those, if they can create any additional yardage through that area, I think that they feel like they can even be more explosive. So
because that's kind of the framework of this offense, right? That's the idea of it, is getting space and some green ahead of you, getting guys on the run and let the athletes do the work. Well, you should be among the elites in terms of yards after catch if you're executing that at the highest level.
Absolutely. Like in the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan systems, that's where they thrive. And obviously it's receiver dependent. When you have Deebo Samuel,
that's not bad.
You're going to break more tackles than other. But specific to the Jordan Addison conversation, none of this is at all, none of the potential suspension is going to be surprising to anybody internally.
Right.
They've thought about it. They've planned for it. You'll ask the question probably of who, steps up in his absence. What does it mean? Kevin O'Connell has reconfigured this offense so many times over to highlight its premium pieces. So, people will ask, like, who's going to be receiver 2? It's really going to be TJ Hawkinson.
Sure.
The primary targets are going to be Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Jalen Naylor. And then if they have to play with 11 personnel, which is 3 receivers on the field, that becomes the question of, is it then Rondale Moore? Is it then Ty Felton?
Yeah.
Is it going to be Tim Jones, who I didn't know before they signed him this offseason to be the special teams person that he's going to be? So,
what about the Wolf of walk-ons? Let's just start now. Thayer Thomas.
Thayer Thomas.
NC State's finest.
Jay-Sean Jones. I can go deep. If you want to go deep, I can go deep.
Dante Fleming.
No, Tulane. Roll wave.
I'm cheating because I have the depth chart in front of me. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. If you threw out, there's a guy from Auburn, Robert Lewis. I could go. This is
Miles Price.
Miles Price, Indiana.
Are you kidding? Okay. Silas Bolden.
Silas Bolden was at Oregon State, I believe, and then transferred to Texas.
Ooh.
He's the kicker. Yeah, this is the job, Nordo. This is the job.
But the switch has been flipped.
But I with the Jordan Addison conversation, if he misses the first, let's say, 3 games,
let's just call it 3. Yeah.
It's also, it underscores, italicizes, puts in bold the importance of the run game.
Right.
And we're going to talk about this ad nauseum, but it is Kevin O'Connell's job. It is the offensive staff's job to really prioritize that. And then it's going to be everybody involved in that phase to be able to produce. And those two things, I think, will allow this offense to rise to a certain level if they miss Jordan Addison.
Yeah, and I like how you put it, because I'm kind of the same mind. I've been asked this. Hey, the Jordan Addison talker. Talk about Jordan Addison and how that impacts the team. Well, I can't. First of all, I'm not looking at it from like a fantasy football draft perspective. And then the other thing was, leading up until yesterday, there was no finality. And at one point he was pleading not guilty. And at the time, the only way I looked at it is, well, that's certainly, I guess, a smart angle. He's going to take his free day and his free opportunity as he has deserved, an opportunity in court. And if he does get acquitted, that would make it very difficult for the NFL to suspend him. So if you're just thinking X's and O's, you're not thinking about, culpability for the real life event that took place and all of that. If he is acquitted, then you're probably not missing any games. But to that end, whether it was, I can't remember whether it was it week 2 or 3 where we missed him last year with an ankle.
At least week 2. He injured the ankle.
So it was against the Niners. And then Jalen Naylor stepped up. I think Jalen Naylor started the year like a touchdown a game for the first 3 or 4 games. Then he muffed that punt at Lambeau, and the rest was hold on to your butts. But all the same, Jalen Naylor stepped in. But I'm glad that you mentioned TJ Hawkinson, because I don't think with this offense, and I don't think with Kevin O'Connell, this is a situation where you truly have to look at the depth chart and say, this guy isn't in, so therefore Rondale Moore has to slot into that spot. Suddenly, the rookie Ty Felton has to have 7 targets. It could be a game where Justin Jefferson just gets 5 more targets. Suddenly, there's a Josh Oliver sighting.
Bingo.
And you get 30 carries from the backs. So how does this impact things? It's not to indict Addison or diminish his loss. I mean, the guy's got 19 TDs in his first 2 seasons. Like, kid can ball.
Incredible.
But all the same, there is an element to this offense where next man up, it doesn't have to be a name. You just have to trust the system itself.
And that's one of the strengths of what Kevin O'Connell and this offensive staff do. Like they, if necessary, against a specific defense, they will go heavier personnel with 2 tight ends, or they will go 21 personnel with fullback CJ Ham. And so, yeah, you find yourself oftentimes like with this conversation, I get the questions as well of who's going to be the receiver to step up. And it's a fair question because you want to believe in Ty Felton, who they picked. And you want to, see Rondale Moore as that gadget weapon that he might end up being. But for me, it is like they have proven over time that they're going to put the best guys on the field. And if that is TJ Hawkinson, Josh Oliver, Justin Jefferson, and Jalen Naylor, and they're going to go smash mouth football, and then target Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson as much as possible. That would be the path that probably I would predict, and that would make the most sense to me.
Saul and Blaine checks in, 64686, Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line. Bob's Produce in Fridley, is a great grocery store, has a great small town feel, was my first job in high school.
Bob's Produce.
Have you been there?
I have not. Fridley.
So let's not flippantly just throw Publix out from your Alabama days and say that we have nothing. I think that's irresponsible, given you have not tasted some of the fruits of Minnesota's labor as it pertains to the grocery industry.
I will fully admit I have not journeyed to every supermarket in the local area. And Fridley, look, I've gotten in trouble with Fridley in the past just because I'm not a Fridley expert. But I look, if I find myself around Fridley for one reason or another, maybe it is the Friday football feast. Could be a Friday feast. And I'm at Buffalo Wild Wings, and maybe after that I'll be like, can I get a box of fruit on my way to the facility or something? I'll
stop at Bob's.
Or maybe, a Bob's Produce. Thank you.
Just like PA will meet you in the lobby at Continental Diamond, maybe Saul and Blaine will meet you in the lobby at Bob's, and he can show you around.
Yeah, I'd probably prefer to meet Sal than PA in the lobby of anywhere.
Unless it's at Jerry's.
Jerry's Supermarket. Like, what do you want to get some chicken noodle soup?
So you did not walk around with him as he shopped?
No.
Okay.
But also, I will say.
He would have preferred it if you did. He's a little disappointed.
I would have been interested to see, the food that he purchased. Because I don't think it would have been normal.
He's a big Jell-O guy.
It's not surprising. whatever you said, if you're like, yeah, he loves the frozen key lime pies.
Jell-O and cold cuts.
You could have told me PA likes anything in that supermarket, and I would have probably believed it.
Specifically with T.J. Hawkinson, there was a video that came out of JJ working with TJ.
You like that?
JJ to TJ. What do you think? More specifically, 10,000 foot view, as I don't even know where I was going with that in the end. 10,000 foot view would be TJ fully healthy again. And that is, we're all thankful for that.
Yeah, no question. I mean, there were, you go back to last year in the back half of the season. I mean, my mind goes to that Chicago game and some of the throws that Sam Darnold made down the stretch to TJ Hawkinson. Those were some contested catches that TJ made in big spots. But I mean, my mind also goes to the Detroit game and like a throw on the sideline, a throw over the middle where it's like, you kind of want TJ to make some of those catches. Yeah. And I fully expect him to enter this season with a, it's flippant to say like motivated because these guys are always, they don't reach this point without being that way. But I could see this being a very big year for TJ Hawkinson. 2 years ago, when Justin Jefferson missed the time that he did, TJ caught 90 passes. Like it's I don't know if people, think about that enough. And then the other aspect, JJ McCarthy in college, I mean, part of the reason Colston Loveland was such an elite tight end prospect was because of how much JJ targeted him over the middle. And so you could understand why, if we're months down the road looking back, like we should have probably put more into that connection and what it could be. Like sure. I really, that's you mentioned fantasy earlier. Like when people ask me about fantasy, like TJ is a guy who I usually come up with thinking about his role this year with JJ.
Isn't it kind of funny how we talk about players like that? Again, he comes back from the knee situation. Thanks for nothing, Kirby. But
Kirby Joseph,
he might be one of the highest paid safeties in the NFL now.
I think his agent did a good job making it seem like that.
Yeah, him and Tyler, Tyler Higbee and T.J. Hawkinson have different opinions on the whole thing. But in the end, he comes back and he does languish a bit, right? I mean, he's working his way back into the mix. Doesn't get his first TD until the Rams. But we talk about these guys sometimes as if T.J. Hawkinson cares enough, you think he doesn't care? You think and even if it was a purely, by the way, team game and supporting your brothers, there's its own social animal that exists in terms of being in that locker room with other people and games and paychecks and wins are on the line. But even most selfishly, you think he wants to go out on national TV in front of 80,000 person stadiums and just be terrible? You think we talk about these guys sometimes as if it's just like you or I, like, I'm just going to mail it in at work today. I don't think they do that. They didn't get there by ever doing that. And it's hard to believe that once in that spot that suddenly, ain't no thing. But we talk about them sometimes when we just look at box scores and we just kind of shoot from the lip in terms of what we might see in the vacuum of a game. I hope he cares.
I just wish sometimes people could see like the post-game locker room after a loss. And just those guys sitting at their chair before their locker. And it is like the weight of the world, like they've lost everything. I mean,
and it's like week 4.
Yeah, these guys don't get to this place unless they are almost borderline probably psychotic about how much they care about this stuff. Yeah. But I also think with TJ Hawkinson in particular, like you talk to anybody about JJ McCarthy. And I've run the gamut of talking to former coaches, former teammates, people who spent time with him at Michigan, IMG, Nazareth Academy. Like I've not wasted, but I've spent so much time this offseason in that space. And the thing that so many will talk about is how infectious his energy is. And with TJ, I really think the youth of JJ, the energy of JJ, and then just building from the ground up with TJ, I really think one of the people that will benefit most from that energy is going to be a TJ.
I dig that. Let's pause, and then it's not really a game, but kind of some what-if propositions for you in regard to specific players that I'm, again, fascinated by, like I was talking earlier, and just some what-if scenarios in terms of what we want to see, what we need to see, what we could see from some of our favorite players. As it's a Friday football feast, a Friday before camp truly lifts off down in Eagan. The Athletics' Alec Lewis, at Alec_Lewis via X. And, of course, the Alec Lewis Show, which is available not just via his X page, but also via YouTube. You can watch his various episodes.
And the iHeartRadio app, too.
He's got super cool guests. He's got mailbags. Everyone loves mailbags. Just like we love text mail. You want to participate. And there's a lot of participation, and that's always fun. So we're going to continue this around the corner. It's Nordo in for PA on a Friday. It's the Fan.
Celebrate the return of football with the Minnesota Vikings at training camp. The fun kicks off Saturday, July 26th for Back Together Saturday. Score tickets today at Vikings.com/camp.
State Fair t-shirt idea from the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line, 64686. Jell-O and cold cuts.
I don't know. See, here's the thing with that. I don't know if you were kidding or not.
I'm not.
Like, I've never seen him in here eat Jell-O or cold cuts.
Oh, you haven't seen him in the sinkhole. You haven't seen him in his comfort zone.
But, like, if he walked in with, like, a plate of, like, cold turkey, I don't think I literally don't think I would even blink an eye.
I think he's kind of an adrenaline eater, I think. Like,
sure.
he's just working all the time, right? So when he finally takes time to eat, he eats for size. So it's tough to pin down. Jell-O and cold cuts.
He walked in here with like a cup of Jell-O.
Wouldn't be the least surprising thing.
It'd be the least interesting thing that's happened between breaks when no one ever hears the conversation.
Some what ifs for you. And this is, I mean, I'm not, we're not breaking standards or protocols when it comes to Vikings related conversation, but kind of the what ifs as I think about the Vikings heading into training camp and beyond is, what needs to happen, what should happen, what could happen, what are our expectations? And I'll start here with you, and we'll just chat these out. I got a handful of them. We're going to start with Dallas Turner. So Dallas Turner into his sophomore season, 300 and change, I think, was his snap count.
Might have been 300 on the dot.
300 on the dot. And part of that, you could say, is because of the success of the people in front of him. Flores is always, whether it's Harrison Smith, best example, I want to take him off the field. He's actually said that, but he can't. I can't have number 22 standing next to me on the sideline and get the most out of my defense, which will lead me to another safety that I'll ask you about momentarily. But with the success of Grenard and Van Ginkel, you have opportunities limited there. Specifically, earlier in the season, Pat Jones was popping up a little bit. I think he had 2 sacks in the first two games, maybe.
He had like 4 sacks early. I think he led the NFL at one point.
Kind of drifted off, maybe ended with 7 or 8. But then also kind of the ebbs and flows of a rookie season. So some things stacked against Dallas. Dallas also, young kid finding his way. Didn't necessarily maybe make the most of all the opportunities he got. I think he missed a game maybe against the Packers week 4. But what is the trajectory for him? The opportunity in front of him? What do you need to see from a Dallas Turner now that a Pat Jones is gone? We're thinking about the Gabe Murphys of the world and such, but in the end, we need more out of this second-year Bama kid. Roll Tide. But we need to roll it up here, okay? So where are we sitting with Dallas?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a massive training camp forthcoming for this guy. It's a massive season. I mean, physically, I just have no questions at all with him. He is, and whether you're talking edge rusher physicality or whether you're talking off-ball linebacker physicality, I think he has it for both of those. He showed last year, had the interception in the Seattle game, where he played off the ball and he made a pick in that game. So he showed like the physical ability in space. And then there was the sack he had where he swooped underneath the tackle and like his arm almost hit the ground. So it's just not, I have no questions from that aspect of him. It's two things that I am curious with Dallas. It is mentally, can he handle all of the specifics that this defense asks guys to handle? To me, that's one of the most underrated aspects of what Brian Flores has done the last couple of years is he has somehow, and this staff has somehow been able to teach this defense in a way to where these guys aren't swimming in it.
Right.
And it's just hard for a young player to learn all of the aspects kind of that you have to learn. So that's going to be critical for Dallas. And then the other aspect is not even Dallas related. It is, can Brian Flores early in this season live with potential mistakes, mishaps to develop like what Dallas can be long term? And I think like that's where Brian Flores is. He's a win now guy. He's a win every snap guy. Is he willing to put this younger guy out there in instances where he might fail with the potential that allows him to thrive later in the season? And I hope Brian Flores has a little bit of him to that earlier in the a little bit to that of him early in the season, but he just hasn't really shown it. Like he's a competitive, wants to pummel you into the ground every snap type of coordinator. So can he live with some mistakes and still kind of ride that out? We'll see.
I'll revisit kind of the comparison, and we saw it up close and personal, sadly, with the 9 sacks in the playoff game against the Rams down in Glendale. But a lot of people comparing, hey, look what we got out of Dallas Turner, the 300 snaps, the ebbs and flows moments, some moments of greatness, as you mentioned, but still a young kid, and then what you saw out of Jared Verse. And Jared Verse, by the way, will turn 25, and I think Dallas is finally 22 now. I think he turned, shortly after the season, he turned 22. But in November, Jared Verse is going to turn 25. So and I don't know how much of an excuse. I mean, you're drafted in the first round. We want you to show up. We want you to play. Is there an age vibe with this and just a maturity? Like Danielle Hunter, when he was drafted 3rd round, 2015 out of LSU, his rookie season, it was just, okay, he's raw talent. We'll get him in when we can. 3rd round expectations, by the way, significantly different than a top 20 pick. I know that. But, and we joke about, getting bigger and shoulders and upper body. 2016, when Danielle Hunter showed up for his second training camp, it was like I had just seen a completely different human. This person literally was busting out of their jersey. Dennis Ryan and the equipment staff had to come up with a whole new game plan for number 99. He was cut out of freaking stone. He was Greek mythical god status, and he emerged into the sack master that he became, not just in Vikings franchise history, but good first year down in Houston for him too. So the age thing, I could jump to the Timberwolves. Terrence Shannon Jr. We love Terrence Shannon Jr., that energy, that pace. There's a maturity. He's physically ready for the game. He's 24.
I love him. Meanwhile,
Rob Dillingham is raw. There are clear talents. There are clear potentials there. He's 19. So when we try to make those comparisons, is it unfair to compare a Dallas Turner to a Jared Verse? Second year, I need expectations. I need production, young man. Well, I'm just a rube, but he doesn't care.
I need production, young man.
Nordo said so. Okay, shut up. But to that end, I need him to be better in year 2, but in the same sense, it kind of makes sense to me what we saw last year. And that lends to the idea of a second year jump, not a slump, for Mr. Turner.
Yeah, the arc you'd want to see is like Nolan Smith with the Philadelphia Eagles, who came out of Georgia, young player, really athletic edge rusher. It didn't really turn on a ton that first year, but then last year, he was a stud, specifically, peaking in the playoffs. So that's probably the arc that you would hope for. But what you mentioned in terms of Jared Verse and the age, that's really, it's like, do you want to be the optimist? Or do you want to be the pessimist? If you want to be the optimist, you'll say these things. You'll say, Dallas Turner is 2 years younger. He just turned 22. He is more of a speed athlete than the physical edge rusher, and the physical guys usually thrive first. Or if you want to be the pessimist, it's like, well, we traded all this. We picked you at this point. Yes, you're young, but we picked you at that point for a reason. So you got to produce. And so, I mean, that's the decision that the folks driving in the car listening to this right now have to make. But I choose to believe and side on the optimist end of the spectrum.
It's the time slot.
It's the time slot, but it's also, I watched him in Alabama.
You can be pragmatic in this regard.
Yeah. And I also, I've covered this team now 3 seasons. I've seen really high picks who you talk to people internally pretty early on. You get to feel like, I'm not sure if that guy can get there from all that he has to handle. Whereas Dallas, I have confidence that he can get there. And I like I said, Nolan Smith. The other comp that I would make is a guy that we don't really talk about, Nick Bonito in Denver, who's from St. Thomas Aquinas, same
Very
place as
player.
Dallas Turner. Great player. Believe he was maybe a second-team All-Pro last year, Pro Bowl player. He similarly had a very progressive arc of not a ton the first year, better the second, and that's just the way it is. So it's going to be, like I said, it's one of the big stories for me as I enter training camp. When you trade as much to climb for a guy like they did, and you have as much, invested, he better produce. Right. And if he can, in certain spots off the ball, as an alley player, it gives this defense even more potential to evolve, which they're going to have to maintain their production.
So kind of some what ifs and just kind of some projections into camp as camp jumps off next week and 9 to noon. Excited to be there for many training camp shows, but the first of many will take place next Wednesday at TCO in Eagan. Theo Jackson. So Theo Jackson is in an interesting spot, Alex. So in his 3 seasons with the Vikings, and I can't remember if he was pulled off a practice squad. Was it a practice squad from the Titans? Or was he actually traded?
I think the Titans waived him. He was a 6th-round pick.
It was okay. I bet you're right.
And they waived him, and the Vikings swooped in and plucked him. And I think the Titans were very frustrated to lose him, from what I know.
Well, by all accounts, everybody freaking loves this guy.
Yeah.
And we got the chance to chat with him on the perch down in Eagan, and he's a first-class dude. And everybody you hear around the team is like, this is the guy in camp. This is the guy in practices that is making plays. He was indeed, it looks like, signed off their practice squad.
Okay.
So that's how he came to the Purple in 2022. But in his 3 seasons, getting back to that, is, okay, everyone loves you. That's terrific. Dig it. Well, in 2022, he played a total of 18 snaps on defense. And fresh, we signed a guy off the practice squad, okay? Everybody calm down. But then in 2023, 126 snaps. Made a nice play, maybe had a pick at the Eagles that season.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think he had, by all accounts, when he was on the field, did his job.
Week 2 that
year. Looked the part. Yeah, one of the Thursday night fiascos. Was it Quez Watkins, 58? I don't know where he was on that play.
The Quez Watkins.
Well, because it's a freaking disaster, okay?
Yeah,
it was a disaster. I'm pretty sure Brandon Powell fumbled a punt.
I really didn't want to think about it.
Like a 30-yard return.
Justin dies for the pylon.
At the pylon.
Yeah.
Come on, JJ.
I'm not. He's fine, but that was a tough night.
Well, that's why.
I don't like Philly.
Jamar Chase wouldn't fumble it at the pylon.
Yeah, I'm not doing that today.
I'm just kidding. But so very limited. He played just over 10% of snaps in 23, and then he played 78 last year. So this is a guy that everybody loves, that there clearly is talent, clearly good enough to stick around. By the way, just absolutely dominating the special team side of things. So again, there's a reason for his persistence on the roster. Right now, it just happens to be special teams focused. But now in 2025, my man, we're putting ourselves in a situation as Cam Bynum moves on. From a safety standpoint, I got Jay Ward, who has mostly been known for false starts on special teams plays. We don't like that. So let's have a clean 2025 in that regard. And you got Metellus and Harry, and then you have Theo Jackson, and then I think there has to be an undrafted free agent.
What about Tavier Thomas?
Isn't he a corner though?
Yeah.
Oh, you like his versatility, do you?
Yeah. They like his versatility. No,
5,000 words on Tavier coming your way, theathletic.com. I'm looking forward to it.
No, you're right to bring up Theo Jackson.
But what's up with Theo, though?
Yeah, you're right to bring up Theo. This team had an opportunity in the first round of the draft to take a safety. They did not.
Yeah.
And they did add another, very experienced one through free agency, which will tell you how much optimism and confidence they have in Theo. And it's more than anything else with Theo Jackson. I mean, the on-the-field stuff, but like it is this professionalism that he has displayed for 3 years behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You talk to
impressive dude.
Like I've spent a lot of time, talked to Harrison Smith a lot. And I mean, last year, Harrison Smith, could he have played in the late season Seahawks game if he absolutely had to? Yes. He didn't play that day, partially because of how much faith he had that Theo could, replace him and perform and allow Harrison a week to recover where he could have the juice down the stretch that he ended up having. And then, I mean, you said it, but every single time I have been out at a spring practice, at an OTAs, at a mini camp, even in training camp, he finds the ball. He's in the right spot. You don't have to tell him to do something. You don't have to tell him to arrive early. You don't have to tell him to be a better teammate, to be okay sitting behind Cam Bynum and Harrison Smith. So if you ask me, like, what needs to go right for Theo Jackson to have a great year, I'll tell you, my answer would be just be who he's been, and it's going to work out. Now, maybe that's a crazy amount of optimism for a guy who hasn't played. I just have had enough conversations with people to where I just don't have that much. I don't have like a worry or
We're not worried about anything right now.
No, I'm being very optimistic, I guess, and I'm not trying. I mean, look, I've got questions about.
No, I think that's just honest, though. I mean, at this stage, like
with Theo,
how's this thing going to work? I mean, to play that game before we even have seen a practice, I think is a little exhausting and a bit hyperbolic.
Yeah,
at this stage of the equation.
Now, I'll throw in. Do I have questions about durability for this team in general? Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
Do I have questions? Like, what happens if Ryan Kelly gets hurt? Who plays center? Jurgens? I don't know. Like we can go that route, but with Theo, there's been so much. I've had so many. Joe Huber, exactly. Logan Thomas or Logan. I don't know. I've had so many conversations over the 3 years. And just watch Theo so many times that there's just not that much of a question mark for me.
No, I'm totally with you there. I do think about, again, it's not from a position of worrying. I mean, it's mid-July. Okay, we're doing okay.
Well, here's what happened. I started ripping the grocery store, so I got to get back on the right side of the tracks.
No, but so I'm with you though, but the thing that I do think about is the amount of time that Cam Bynum, Harrison Smith, and Metellus were all on the field at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so you dropped to two corners on the outside. So I'm picturing that as, let's call it Byron and Isaiah Rodgers.
That's the right picture.
And then if you're going to roll three safeties, and we got the Swiss Army knife, number 44, still trying to figure out the contract. How do you value somebody who is used in the way that Metellus is? But he's going to be on the field 90%, 95% of the time. Harrison Smith, I don't care what Flores says, is going to be on the field 98% of the time, because you talk about worrying, when 22's on the sideline, there's a problem. And then it's going to be Theo Jackson. So there is, it's not about worrying per se, but this is going to be a significant sea change and a massive jump to his playing life. There is actually, you can reliably say, they are reliant on him to show everything that they've been envisioning in practice. So and it's time to go, brother.
And this is where the durability thing, like you have an injury to Theo, to Harrison Smith or Josh Metellus, then you're thrusting in Jay Ward, who had a very good spring. Yeah. But I mean, you talk about reliant. I mean, you become that is a dicey proposition. And then we already talked about what is the depth behind those four.
Yep.
I mean, that's where this team and this roster, while much deeper than it's been in my time here, like the cliff is steep after,
it's exhilarating, isn't it?
It is. You can hear it
living on the edge.
Yeah, and how else would Brian Flores want it?
No, of course. This is perfect. All right, let's pause. I got a couple more names for you, but I also have some other things that I want to get into as we start the second hour of. We
didn't do any J.J. McCarthy in an hour.
I know that was kind of my aim, and I'll tell you, I've gotten a bunch of text messages on J.J. and we will talk about the quarterback, and we will try to. It's not about tempering expectations, but just kind of how we see it again in mid-July. Not worrying, nothing's taking place. The games don't count. They haven't even freaking practiced yet.
I want to throw something about him at you.
Ooh.
Yeah. I want to throw
Well, how about that's a tease? It's another hour, so we're going to get to that for sure. with Alec Lewis of The Athletic in studio. Reminder once again, Twins back at it starting today at Coors Field in Colorado against the awful Rockies. Beautiful scenery, terrible baseball. Our favorite team has a chance to sweep. It's Paddock on the mound. We'll see what happens. But Twins geek John Bonus is going to be in studio at 11. More football around the corner. 10 a.m. It's Nordo in for PA on the Fan.